Let's get to it.
A new study found that Gen Z is not thriving in their lives compared with previous generations.
Sometimes I think to myself, you know, what do I want to do for work when I'm older? What do I want to do? And then I realize I'm already older. Do you know what I mean? Like, this was supposed to be figured out by now.
I'm 22 years old and I don't know what the fuck I want to do with my life.
I graduate uni this year, don't have a job lined up, and I still live with my parents.
Is it just me, or does it feel like Gen Z is like one of the most unhappy generations right now?
Now, I feel like Gen Z has to understand that every situation is circumstantial. Well, circumstances, they are a very important consideration as to like the reality that you are witnessing. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, there's this whole living in a box type scenario. There's this whole living in a box type situation type energy that's going on, where it's like, nah, you feel like you gotta be at a certain position or at certain levels of reality just because of some, you know, content pieces that you've seen online. You know what I'm saying? Comparing yourself with content pages and influencers online. You feel what I'm saying? Forgetting where exactly you are. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't end at yourself. There's boundaries of your own skin and just your own space. Nah, your environment, brother. Where is your starting point? Where has your starting point been? You know what I'm saying? I feel like that being in that kind of situation can get you really tripped up really easily. And Gen Z being the ones that are at the, you know, youngest point of the people that are learning these things. I mean, people who are older than Gen Z, they realize, you know what I'm saying? Like, all these experiences, it depends on a whole lot of layers of who you are. You know what I'm saying? So Gen Z is at the lower level, so they're still coming from a whole lot of ignorance. So they gotta learn. You know what I'm saying? There always has to be a generation that learns things the hard way. I'm just gonna, you know, put it like
Gen
that.
Z, and I feel that no matter what I've already achieved in my life, I'm still not happy.
Whatever you
Still
want.
not happy.
You decide. You pick. You choose. Do not do that to me. I can't choose and I can never choose.
Why?
I am terrified of making decisions all
wanna
the time in the
choose.
future. Cannot make a decision.
Kids are not resilient. They're not resilient. If they were, we would have less people with anxiety, depression,
They're
general
still learning
unhappiness.
how,
But we don't.
bruh.
Are teenagers and university students of today. They don't have the experience of grit.
Are we all feeling this universal feeling that we just don't care because at the end of the day, nothing really matters? Truly, like, what are we doing with our lives?
Yo, because another thing, you have to differentiate between nihilists. I don't know if y'all know the nihilists that are online perpetuating their own POV on reality. You know what I'm saying? Let me just refresh y'all, you know, on what nihilism is in case y'all forgot type shit. Well, I forgot. You know what I'm saying? Wait, I forgot. So I gotta hit my boy co-pilot with it. It's just, I don't know why you keep wanting these credentials for me to sign in, bro, every time when I'm, oh my god, oh my jeez, every time, same ass device, and this nigga always wants me to sign in. But I need your help. I don't give a fuck. Listen to me. Alright, let's do it. Co-pilot. What is nihilism? What is nihilism?
Nihilism is a philosophical belief that life is inherently meaningless.
Meaningless. Okay, cool. So now, since we just heard from this, means nothing, right?
Teenagers and university students of today. They don't have the experience of grit.
Are we all feeling this universal feeling that we just don't care because at the end of the day, nothing really matters? Truly, like, what are we doing with our lives?
And another thing is that, you know what I'm saying, you have all this kind of information where you get somebody like that lady right there who says nothing really matters, we don't really care. And then you as the younger, because you know the youngest people in society are always the ones that are most impressionable, you know what I'm saying, in terms of experience, right? You're always impressionable. You have a big old blank slate, and so you got big old space to just like take all this stuff in. I'm saying careful what you choose now. I'm saying careful what you take in now. I mean, that's also important. That could like shape a generation, because it's, you know, with you who chooses how to take in the information that you do take in, and, you know, pushing the bullshit to the side, whatever that means for you, you're gonna shape what you pour into the next generation. You see what I'm saying? So that whole cycle is like, consideration is important for that whole system of things.
It doesn't take much to see that Gen Z is scared of getting older. Just look at their obsession with skincare routines or the full-on roast sessions on TikTok for anyone over the age of 30 without Botox. But no matter.
But do you think there has ever been a generation that's never been scared of aging? Let me ask Copilot. Yo, Copilot.
Hey there. Yep.
Yo, has there ever been a generation that has never been scared of aging?
Not really. Every generation seems to grapple with aging. It's pretty universal.
Yeah.
Whether it's about
what's the example of the boomer generation's version of being scared of aging? What did they do?
For baby boomers, the fear of aging often led to a focus on youthfulness. They were big on anti-aging products.
Anti-aging products. So, you know what I'm saying? Ever since the boomers, my boy. Ever since the boomers, I feel like the difference is that right now, you know what I'm saying, there's all this access to these people who are insecure. You know what I'm saying? We can see all of it online. Whereas with the baby boomers, you know what I'm saying, they had a sense of mystery to them. So they were dying like in private, you know, well, not dying, but like suffering in private, you know what I'm saying? The whole POV of them being afraid of aging, that was fucking with their mentals in private, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have all this internet to just like project all this shit onto, you know what I'm saying?
No matter how much retinol they slather on at night, they can't just stop growing up. Or can they? Because Gen Z will certainly try to anyway. They took the millennial not wanting to adult starter pack and then decided to go all in, taking longer to reach adulthood and relying more on their parents than any generations past. Between putting off every major life milestone, dodging commitments like a bad first date, and cocooning themselves from things that are
I'd say that's the one major difference between like generations. I feel like it's their hetero sexual you know, activities, like, you know what I'm saying, the men and the women of the generation, how they behave with one another. That's been different, right? That's been different. The whole thing of Gen Z, them avoiding, you know, even going on these first dates, you know what I'm saying? These men ain't even approaching no woman these days, you know what I'm saying? That's new. That's new. I don't think, yeah, millennials definitely, you know what I'm saying, we're still optimistic about that kind of game, but Gen Z's, they're not having none of that, bruh. They're not having none of that, Brian. It's clear. You know
hard. Gen Z is working overtime to try and stop the clock before they hit 21. But with mantras like "you've got plenty of time" and "don't settle" ringing in their ears, it's no wonder that they find themselves stuck in a loop of decision paralysis. And often, even when they want to take a move forward, they can't convince themselves to take that first step. So it's time to get into it, how Gen Z knows so much but does so little, and why they're so reluctant to step out into the world and grow up.
Know so much but have done so little. Okay.
Now, we know that the teenage mind is still one under construction. Their brains are still in that stage of rapid growth, and the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles judgment and impulse control, is only half-baked. So it's no surprise that historically, teens have always hit the gas before the brake in terms of decision-making. What's interesting now, though, is that this natural part of growing up just isn't happening as much anymore, and it feels like we're living in this weird time where children are quick to take on adult personas and aesthetics, but are reluctant to actually take action in adult responsibilities when they come of age. They just don't seem to want to take that first step and break out into the world and start building real independence.
Honey, I think we need to buy a house. I've been thinking about it. Buying a home right now is a smart investment for us and the kids. If I just went to sleep right now, I wouldn't have to spend money on that.
That's real shit, golly.
Rather, left on their own, they're more prone to settling into the glow of their phones. Honestly, aren't we all though? But as said here, they're slowing down and they're in less of a hurry to do the kind of anxiety-provoking things that adults do. And we're finding these trends to be true across economic and social spectrums. This isn't just a white upper middle class phenomenon. We see this in things like the declining number of teenagers learning to drive, as just under 40% of teenagers aged 16 to 19 had their licenses in 2021, a 24% decline since 1995, my birth year, if you care. But I remember as teenagers, getting your driver's license was like the most important thing in high school. It meant no more relying on parents for rides, late night hangouts without...
Oh shit, I'll be honest, bro. I'll be honest, okay. She says she's 95, I'm 96. Look, I'm at the cusp, right? Where it's like, I think it's believed to be the cusp of the generation and millennium type shit. Co-pilot, what generation does 96 fall under?
Hey, people born in 96 are typically considered millennials. What sparked your interest?
Nah, I don't know. So yeah. Okay, so millennial, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but I literally don't fall into this whole thing of like making these things that they've made important for myself. You know what I'm saying? To me, I feel like I'm just, depending on who you're asking, I'm the exception. You know what I'm saying? Because I already have like my own independent way of thinking. There's some things that like I agree with the older generation. There's some things I agree with like boomers on. You know what I'm saying? There's some things I agree with like what is that other one? Yeah, generationally. That's why like I literally, older people, you know what I'm saying, the old souls of the world, there's some things that I heavily agree with them on in terms of, how to gain shit like wisdom, long-term understanding of how reality works, things like that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like the deeper parts of the earth. You know what I'm saying? I mess with the older generations for that. They can relay that beautifully. The younger niggas, you know what I'm saying, making that quick money, you know what I'm saying, opportunities, things like that. And opportunities today are mad ripe. They know the quick loopholes, rabbit holes to get into in terms of that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So I leave all the other bullshit and just like, yeah, you know what I mean? I humble myself in like learning from them in terms of those kind of areas. All the other bullshit aside, obviously. You feel what I'm saying? But now when we talk about things like driver's licenses, you know what I'm saying? It's neither here nor there. I feel like it's, with me, it was about like just analyzing my intention with the thing. Do I need the thing? My lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? How I get around in my spot. You know what I'm saying? It's very important to get to a point where if you don't need it, be honest with yourself, don't get it. It's going to be an unnecessary expense. You feel what I'm saying? Unless you are the shallow kind. That's why I'm like, yo, I've been the exception. You know what I'm saying? I never looked at like these shallow needs where it's like, yo, I need a car just to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, for women, get around conveniently in terms of, my affairs with women and shit like that. It's like, if we're not making money, if it's not for business, we're not doing it. But then that's why there's things like, opportunities to just make that shit make money. You know what I'm saying? Have it deliver somewhere. Have it deliver people, deliver food, deliver whatever. You feel what I'm saying? And then that's a reason to get a car. But just for my own personal sake, you know what I'm saying? I'm right here in front of the screen. I'm trying to, I'm getting this money online too. And that's another thing that this Gen Z generation has helped me just like get into. You know what I'm saying?
Permission were possible, and suddenly the whole city was within reach. But that's just something that teenagers aren't interested in anymore. And this is just one example of a mix of adult things that young adults just aren't pursuing. Fewer young adult men ages 16 to 24 are settled into permanent jobs, and fewer men and women are married with children today than in the 1950s. And that's not to say that these life choices are necessarily for everyone, just that overall, there's a lot less urgency to meet these milestones. Take this Gen Z's perspective, for instance. Elise Monsanto plans to get around to some of the grown-up milestones that generally mark early adulthood. She's just not in a rush. She didn't get her driver's license until she was 20. She and her friends haven't had their first boyfriends. Now, at 22, she doesn't drink, though she's sure at some point she will. And she continues to say, I think it's more of a hesitancy thing, a little bit scared to start. I guess the same thing with driving. And she's not alone in this, as this is the general consensus and mindset for most of modern young adults.
And I feel like here's another thing why people of this generation find it or they reluctantly come to these decisions, right? Reluctantly. It's because of the oversaturation of, the need for it. Well, not the oversaturate, but like the perception that you really need these things and you really gotta go at it. More and more people have went at it without any success, without any just like attractive fruits. You know what I'm saying? If the fruit was attractive enough, a lot more people have been in that kind of thinking, in that kind of reality, that, it devalued the reality of it. Like a whole lot more people, for example, they graduate with these degrees and blah, 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 to a point where they don't guarantee no jobs no more. And to a point where, subsequently, they just leave you with a whole bunch of debt. You know what I'm saying? And therefore, a whole lot of those negative experiences have been seen for people to be reluctant in getting a degree traditionally. You know what I'm saying? So, for example, shit like that. You feel me? I feel like that's what also has devalued the ambition for these traditional things. by this generation, you feel me?
Adults, whether it's taking on financial responsibilities, moving out of your family home, entering long-term relationships, or anything in between. They just want to figure it out when it comes up.
So I've been living with my boyfriend for a year. We moved to a new city and he got a job at a university. I've been trying to get him to get on health insurance there. It's like a university program. I've been nudging him to do it for months. We've been here for like...
You're probably the older one in the relationship, I would guess.
6 months now. And he doesn't seem to be able to do it. And then I learned that he actually hasn't even like been to the dentist in like 20 years. Can't seem to get his health insurance.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. I kind of relate.
Set up. I keep saying, okay, let's sit down and do it. I'm so tired of it.
But while more kids these days seem to be struggling to launch into adulthood, this isn't a novice phenomenon. We first saw this concept of failure to launch come up with the introduction of Peter Pan syndrome in 1983 by American psychologist Dr. Dan Killey. In his book, The Peter Pan Syndrome, Men Who Never Grow Up, he describes emotionally stunted men who struggle with relationships, commitment, and responsibility. People with characteristics of Peter Pan syndrome may find it challenging to adopt adult responsibilities. They have difficulty maintaining healthy relationships and have a fond nostalgia for their youth. While most people may occasionally long for the simplicity of childhood, people with Peter Pan syndrome can have difficulty living a typical adult life. But while it's tempting to use Peter Pan syndrome as a catch-all explanation for what's going on, the reality of what we're dealing with is a bit more nuanced. Rather than young adults never truly growing up, this period of time between teenagehood and adulthood has seemed to just be drawing out longer than normal. Jeffrey Arnett, an American psychologist who studies the transition from adolescence to adulthood, proposed that people in this stage of life weren't even full adults. Instead, they were emerging adults, finding their place in a world that no longer held just one or two possible paths. When he first coined the term, he set the age range at 18 to 25. He now considers the stage of life to last until about age 29. He says people are taking longer to find a stable place in the adult world. So basically, 29 is the new 21 these days. And this emerging adulthood stage is all about figuring out who you are career-wise, romantically, and even how you present yourself to the world. And what better way to experiment with your identity than trying on different versions of yourself through scent. Sorry for the cheesy transition.
Okay.
To me, shoot for
Forgiven. Slow down. Children at play.
One of the reasons why kids are taking their time growing up is because, well, they've been raised that way. In somewhat of an unexpected twist, the extra nurturing and increased supervision that is known of Gen Z childhoods has actually contributed to a slower, more cautious approach to adulthood. Rather than speeding up their independence, this added support can sometimes lead to a more sluggish transition as they take longer to navigate life's milestones on their own.
Many Gen Xers, for example, grew up with a lot of trauma. Our parents were immigrants often. They were new to this country. They were coming from different situations, and they brought what they knew to be right to us. Many of us are parenting our kids, and we've been trying to avoid traumatizing our kids the way we were traumatized. In doing so, we've created very cushy lives for them. I often joke that my kids live on an all-inclusive resort. We had a lot of hustle. We had a lot of desire to get out of the house. We had a lot of desire to get a job and pay for things for ourselves because our parents weren't going to buy them for us. This generation is so used to just getting what they want that they completely avoid situations they might be in that cause reduction. I'm generalizing here, of course, but for the most part, what I see in Gen Z is a real fear of reduction, a real fear of risk-taking, a real lack of resilience, amazing emotional language, pretty healthy self-esteem, but the inability to go headfirst into something that's difficult or challenging.
This is because, for one, the decreased birth rates we've been seeing over the years has changed the way that parents raise their children. Funny enough, you would think that less children means more time to raise them well, but actually it can lead to coddling if you're not using that time and effort properly. As parents have fewer children and later in life, they nurture them more carefully, which in turn delays independence. Gen Z has been under more adult supervision than previous generations. Their play dates were carefully watched. Their parents have monitored.
But even that whole coddling the kids type conversation, I feel like it all depends on where you're from, really. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're from a place where the economy is so bad that no parent is at home freaking coddling those kids, you know what I'm saying? Because the economy of that area is just that terrible. It's like no parent is home. And all those parents are dependent on just like having somebody else supervise those kids, aka, you know what I'm saying, the creche system, the school system. You feel what I'm saying? It's nothing but just like overglorified babysitting systems. You feel what I'm saying? And you feel me, you know, in places or areas where the economy can have players that can be stable enough to be around, you know what I'm saying, because they have enough money to be around, you know, enough, you know, passive opportunities, enough opportunities to passively make money so that you can be around physically, you know what I'm saying. That's where the over coddling thing happens. And you know what I'm saying, even in that kind of area, like the kids, they grow up neglected to a certain degree. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like, man, come on, bro, it's all in the hands of the beholder of the tools to be able to raise their kids. You know what I'm saying? It's like the tools that you have, it's about how you use them, bro. You know what I mean? And I feel like the one common denominator is people listening to you know, general narratives, propaganda, you know, general ideas in how to go about parenting your kids, or the general idea of when to have kids, you know what I'm saying, or the general idea. Like, I feel like Gen Z is just coming out of that whole situation where it's just one general thing that we have, because you know what I'm saying, it was the age of information wasn't that potent. Right now it's potent. Like, everybody has access to this info, to a whole bunch of information easily. So you know what I'm saying? I feel like, to me, it might just be analysis paralysis. There's just an overstimulation of decisions to make. A whole lot of examples of people who have had children in their younger years, you know, with the good and the bad aspects of that, and people who have had kids in their older years, good and bad in that. You know what I'm saying? They like, nah, you know what? It's just too much. Like that. That's just what I think. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much for them to decide. It's, you know, overstimulating. It's overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? Overwhelming. They just gotta get back to their own selves, listen to their own intuitions, and just like let that rip. You know what I'm saying? Just pop these shit that way. Like, come on, man.
Monitored their whereabouts on their phones, which may be safe.
Okay, I kind of forgot what point she was making. I'm gonna have to just like remind myself there.
But means they're not figuring things out on their own. While there are plenty of problems with having too many kids, like neglect, one positive thing that does come out of it is that it almost forces their children to grow up quicker, because they need the kids to take on more responsibilities for the household to function. And I'm by no means saying that we all need to get on the 18 kids and counting train for our children to succeed, but it is something that parents with a gaggle of children don't have to think about, because it just naturally happens. When we aren't aware of how much hand-holding we're giving our children, then we accidentally are preventing learning opportunities for them, and they miss the chance to make the next steps in their development. Because while it's normal for a parent to help their child, say, make their first resume, it's not normal for a parent to call an employer after an interview to reinforce their child's application, something I've experienced in the workplace before. Parents beginning with my generation of boomers have invested more of their self-worth in their children's success. When a young adult is struggling, parents may unintentionally become more overprotective, over-involved, or intervene in ways that undermine the young adult's ability to succeed. Most parents provide love and nurturance, but often don't offer the backbone to say no or exhibit confidence in the young adult to step up to the challenge.
We've all heard of the helicopter parent, right? This is the parent who's always at school meetings, doing all of the talking and double-checking the homework. Their intention is usually to protect and support their child. But research has shown that sometimes this can cause children to feel anxious and can actually hinder their ability to develop independence and
independently, yes, for sure.
Overall, parents these days are doing more.
They end up not being able to make those decisions by their own selves.
And more for their children.
So you end up needing your mother even at the age of 65. You know what I'm saying? That time, you know what I'm saying? For example, RIP moms. You feel me? She done rested her soul like, you know, a while back, but you still need that. You know what I'm saying? Just because your psychology has developed into that.
With honest hearts of just trying to help, but they're really hindering their children's ability to take on the skill set when they're supposed to learn it, not when they're 25. It's not enough anymore to get your kid dressed, feed them, and send them off to school. Raising a child is a 24/7 preoccupation. A child's success in life, the new thinking goes, relies on a series of carefully orchestrated opportunities provided by parents who believe a child's future prosperity rides on the right choice of mommy and me class. The supercharged involvement continues throughout childhood. Parents spend all their waking hours crafting emails to teachers about how their kids learn best, hopping from one activity to the next, hoping to discover their child's thing, and diving into rabbit holes of internet research about the right way to get their kid to eat their vegetables. I feel a little bit called out. Another factor worth mentioning, and one that I've brought up before, is the noticeable decline in independent play among children. But this isn't just for their emotional and social development, it also plays a crucial role in building independence. Kids need time alone to play without advice or interruption so that they can learn to navigate challenges and build resilience on their own. Because if you see your child playing and about to fail at something and you stop them before it happens, then they aren't going to, first of all, learn the consequences of that failure, but also learn that failing isn't the end of the world. Of course,
it's a very interesting take. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course, this is all within reason, and you should still set your child up to not seriously hurt themselves.
Yep.
But if, say, another kid is playing a way that your child doesn't like, and you solve that conflict for them every time, then they won't learn how to speak up and stand up for themselves.
I give kids enough time to be in the productive struggle, and I know this because I'm seeing their behavior issues and their patience issues, and they think that when they need help, they're going to get it right away. And so we need to normalize saying, hey, I see that you're frustrated with this thing. It's just that I can't help you right now, and I would like you to try it by yourself.
Yep.
Because I think there's this misconception that if you're not actively on top of a kid teaching them 24/7 during the workday, that you are somehow a bad teacher. And that's not true.
Right.
Some of these kids need to be in the struggle and learn what that feels like on their own.
The purpose of childhood is to allow kids to take risks, things that involve getting all kinds of hurt, and to practice the skills they will need as adults while they're still safely under their parents' roof. Childhood exists to allow kids to hazard an unpredictable friend, lose a ball game, stand up to a bully, pick themselves up, offer another kid a hand. We want them to venture out and get their hearts broken, try and fail, and at last succeed, all while we're still in the next bedroom. That's what a happy childhood is, experiencing all the pains of adulthood in smaller doses.
But let me tell you what's interesting about that kind of thing, right? That kind of reality is the fact that you might fuck around and have a child who will think that you letting them learn, you letting go at some point so that they can experience failing, so that they can learn from that. They might just like internalize that as hate, right? They might internalize that as just like you purposefully trying. Well, it is like intentional. You know what I'm saying? The idea is intentional for you to let them learn in that sense, in those senses. But it's like they might internalize that as like you being the enemy at the end of the day. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah.
So that they build up immunity to the poison of heartache and loss.
Right.
And I must say that quote is a little bit intense.
Why?
I feel anyways, like a little bit too much pick yourself up by the bootstraps, but I think the general idea is still good. With that, I did read the book Bad Therapy in preparation for this video, and I do recommend it because it has a lot of interesting insights, but I also think it was a little bit problematic in some areas. I just wanted to share that in case you're also interested in reading it.
European moms have been doing this forever and without gentle parents and Pinterest boards. Back home, you taught to figure it out. No one is hovering over with a backup toy and a snack every 5 minutes. If you fall, you get up. If you get bored, well, you'll figure it out. By age of 4 or 5, you're already folding laundry, setting up the table, helping cook. Not as chores, but because you're part of this family. It builds ownership, not entitlement.
Kids need to fail and fail hard when it still doesn't matter. That's why jobs as teenagers are so important, because if you screw up inventory or are late for the 3rd time and get fired, thank God that lesson was learned when you were working at Wendy's as opposed to your first big corporate gig. Kids are supposed to mess up, like having fallouts with friends, flunking tests, and getting cut from the volleyball team, because that's what teaches them how to adapt and keep moving forward. In the end, they discover that the feeling of loss or failure doesn't last forever, or that they're capable of pushing through to succeed the next time. It also makes them less scared and better able to navigate and assess risks in the future. And so small failures and injuries help children rather than hurt them. I also know it's so much easier said than done, like when you're watching your child about to make a mistake and you just have to let them do it. It's not a good time, but the kids need it. This also goes right in line with parents being more scared for their children than ever before.
And I feel like more than the kids needing it, the parents need it too. Because obviously, you know what I'm saying, you creating a kid, that's a projection of yourself onto reality, right? You just replicated 50% of yourself. Other people would say arguably, like, you know what I'm saying, a less percentage because of all maybe other ethnicities that have made you before creating a replica of you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but the point is that you're projecting your own being onto the world, you know what I'm saying, through your child. So obviously, you know, if you came up mad coddled, you know what I'm saying, mad just attached to the emotional connection of things, you know what I mean, it's hard for you to just let reality be reality. Let go and let God, other people would say, right? Just let the universe teach the lesson to the kid. You know what I'm saying? If you were the one that never developed that way. It's gonna be hard for you letting your kid, go through it. It's gonna be hard letting your kid be taught by the world. You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, you getting to a point where you can let your kid be taught by lessons and reality, you're gonna have to get to that point first. So you're gonna have to be a parent that have sensed it or have experienced it to a certain degree, so that you can impart it on your kid and be like, no, it's okay for it to happen to my kid. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to not having went through it. It's gonna crush you seeing your kid go through it without you having went through it. And I feel like to some degree that is some other people's lessons learned. You know what I'm saying? You learn these lessons through your kid, just like going through whatever that you ain't went through, and then it just crushes you seeing them, because for some reason you can't even control the situation. You know what I'm saying? And then and I feel like those realities are just created a lot nowadays from people who just create co-parenting environments instead of just like the other option of a reality type shit.
As the increase in child-related crimes and news have been shoved down our throats for decades now.
Damn.
So it would only make sense that parents are more scared to let their kids do things like walk to the corner store alone.
Yeah.
Parents are more hesitant. They're less comfortable allowing their children to be uncomfortable. Confidence and skills such as problem solving and conflict resolution are born from discomfort, which parents and schools increasingly shield children and teens from. This has some good effects. Young people are cultured and sensitive and aware of what's going on in the world. It's a positive that they're not drinking and are avoiding what are generally considered negative outcomes, such as teen pregnancy, but it also means that they're having a hard time fully leaving the nest and are more anxious.
So what are some of these things that could be like overprotective? Not letting you meet friends if they don't know everything about them and know their family, and keep you in the house and not allow you opportunities to socialize. It could look like you are not allowed to gain milestones of freedom in order to gain independence. That can be one of the things where they restrict you too much, and
that's what teenagers tell themselves all the time.
Hinder your growth.
Like, my parents are the devil, bro. Like, what? They actually hate me, blah blah blah, etc. Right?
And make you in turn even more dependent on them.
The problem is when parents don't let their kids get uncomfortable or try hard things when they're ready, keyword ready, those moments may never come. Children's brains are wired to chase independence that feels just out of reach, something new and exciting and slightly challenging. If that window is missed, however, the drive to stretch themselves can fade. For example, offering your 9-year-old the opportunity to run into a store on their own and grab some milk can feel like an exciting adventure. It's unfamiliar, slightly outside of their comfort zone, and gives them a sense of real responsibility. But on the other hand, asking a 16-year-old to do the same thing just doesn't carry the same weight, because by then it's well within their realm of capability and not a novelty, so the opportunity to build independence has already passed. What this means is that you need to give kids a chance at independence at the right time when they peak interest, or they won't take it. As said in Bad Therapy, I talked to mothers who had forbidden their kids to walk around the neighborhoods when they were little. By the time the kids turned 13, they couldn't be dislodged from the house.
Damn. Look, and this one can even be an attest to just like my own life experiences. I mean, look at what I'm doing though for money. Literally, look at what I'm doing for money. I'm in front of this camera, chopping up some content, chopping shit up, like giving my own POV on some shit. But that also does have its own benefits too, because we're helping each other grow. But anyway, look at this. Like I grew up in an environment where obviously, by a certain time, nigga, you gotta be in the house and blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like when the street lights come on, of which, you know what I'm saying, that could be just depending on where you're from and how you grew up. That could be mad early or like way late. You know what I'm saying? And like I had to, and the point that I'm trying to make is that having been a strict thing, you know what I'm saying, for me, I had experiences where I fell short of that, right? And me falling short of that, the consequence left me so sensitive that there was a time when I didn't want to be out the house anymore like that. You know what I'm saying? Because of just like how this consequence like leaves me, like the effect of this consequence type shit. You know what I'm saying? To me, like it left me so sensitive that, you know what, I don't even want to deal with that reality altogether. So I ended up, being the person who's constantly in the house, bro. Like, as I said though, I'm at the cusp of like the end of millennial, right? towards the beginning of Gen Z, and that generation is a generation that's just like connected with, just being internalized, bro, like just being to themselves and things like that. And for me, that ended up just being the appeal, bro. Just be to myself, like fuck the streets, you know what I'm saying? And another thing that just helped me, or helped that trajectory of mine just become a reality is the fact that I'm a creator at heart, bro. Like I'm a creative being, you know what I'm saying? So, grabbing inspiration from shit like my fantasies and things like that, creating cool shit within my own spaces, that was the benefit of it for me, you know what I'm saying? But this is mad true, like I'm mad relate with this, no cap.
Having been trained to accept the crammed confines of a cage, by the time the door is flung open, when he's eligible to get his driver license, say, he may have surrendered to his captivity. As I was writing this,
but then now you see, it's about what you make it mean. You know what I'm saying? One of the beautiful things about like being alone the whole time, or preferring that, is that, you know what I'm saying, to me it didn't mean captivity. You know what I'm saying? It didn't mean, yo, it's the death of da-da-da, like how I'm living, this is where dreams go to like die, brah. Like you have to be out there grabbing inspiration, this, that, the third. To me it was like, bro, this is, to me it's not captivity, this is the free me, actually. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like how you make the shit mean, bro, that dictates how the fuck the shit goes, or how it feels to you.
I actually realized that a version of that happened to me last week when my 4-year-old did a whole shower routine on his own, which I guess if you're not a mom of young kids, like might not seem like that big of a deal. But it was the first time that he didn't ask for any help and went from being covered in mud to putting his fresh clothes on in his room. And I was honestly so proud of him. Like obviously kids grow and learn these things, but working on this video made me think about how easy it would have been to keep doing parts of the routine for him just out of habit and not giving him a shot at all. But the point being that no amount of begging and scolding children to do tasks is going to make them want to do it. And so you need to seize the opportunity of when they're ready for it. Yeah. As this student says, look, by the time my parents felt it was safe for me to play outside, I was like 13 and had no interest in playing outside.
Exactly, bro. Like by the time that opportunity gets there, it's like, you don't have any interest. This is what I've been thinking about too, though, on that. I want to extrapolate that kind of situation in a situation where you have delayed success, or where your environment forces you to delay your gratification in terms of success and what you're ambitious towards, right? And getting that at a later stage in life. You know what I'm saying? I've had moments where I've realized that, okay, my life needs me to just delay my gratification, and that's when I would delay my gratification would allow me to create sort of a stable sustenance, right? Because for example, bro, like if you have a whole bunch of money and then you save more than what other people save of that same portion of money, you know what I'm saying? You save that money, like your future, more of your future is secure, so to speak, financially speaking, as far as finances go, right? So it's like there's such a thing as being overly careful. Or I guess my question is there such a thing as being overly careful? Because if you see these kids, like by age of 13, that was only when they were allowed to go outside. By the time they are 13, they're not even interested to go outside because they've been told not to go outside, up until the age of 13. Now imagine like you do get like, I don't know, your financial breakthrough. And then by the time you get to a age where you feel like you've been supposed to have gotten that, you're probably not even interested in the things that you thought you was going to enjoy with this financial breakthrough, right? Because by that time you're probably like, the end of your middle ages. You're probably like senior citizens, damn near. You're probably like 60s, and only then you pop financially, let's say, for an example. You know what I'm saying? The idea is like, I ain't interested in clubbing anymore. I ain't interested in all these cars and all this anymore. Like, I ain't even interested in having a family. That can't be the reality. You know what I'm saying? It's like, god damn, I'll just like, shit, bury me in my millions, nigga. bury me in my material facts. You know what I'm
That period
saying?
was completely missed. It never happened.
And I don't even think that's wrong completely. You know what I'm saying?
And what
Facts.
happens next to these kids that don't get to practice independence is they end up with less self-confidence,
Nice.
have worse social skills,
Whoa.
are less tolerant of uncertainty, and overall are less resilient.
What else?
I really love this quote on the matter. We assumed with perfect faith and wholly without evidence that gentler parenting could only produce thriving kids. Shouldn't flowers bloom in powdered sugar? Turns out they grow best in dirt.
Dirt. Okay.
Something else that's unique to Gen Z is that they're the generation that has the most mental health awareness and yet are arguably struggling the most. For a generation that's mantra is everyone needs therapy, they haven't really made many mental health strides themselves. When we're looking at statistics,
Bro, everybody needs therapy, including the therapist. Now, imagine like, you know, breaking down the reality where even the therapist needs therapy. Where the fuck are we getting this therapy? That's why everybody's freaking directionless, because even the therapist, they copy paste some shit that probably got regurgitated by ChatGPT, aka probably was regurgitated by a whole bunch of, you know what I'm saying, information sources that has existed, that has gotten your patient to be as confused as they are right now. And now all you doing is regurgitating that same information to them as the therapist that needs therapy yourself. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, this yo, interesting position to be in, man. Facts.
anyway. They talk of wellness while also downward spiraling into the most unwell, depressed, and anxious generation in recent history.
Damn.
A 2023 Gallup survey found that almost half of Gen Zers, ages 12 to 26, often or always feel anxious, and more than 1 in 5 often or always feel depressed. They're also more likely to report that they've received treatment or therapy from a mental health professional, compared with 26% of Gen Xers, 22% of baby.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie, dog. I've been in therapy myself, bro, and like the result from out of it, like, nah, I wouldn't say do it. But as I said again, bro, like, I'm part of the exception where I understand, you know, the self. I'm not saying I understand myself completely, because, you know what I'm saying, there's a whole lot of work still to do there. But I ended up, you know, leaning into myself, leaning into understanding my own physics, bruh, like from deep within, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, not being afraid of what I was faced with. You know what I'm saying? Other people call those ghosts, other people call those demons, other people call those mental illness issues that you gotta get away from. But I feel like once you face those kind of things about yourself, you end up knowing how to fix, well, you end up knowing at least where the solution might just lie. You know what I mean? And at least by that time you have a direction to walk, bro. Now do that. And now that's your therapy right there. You know what I'm saying? Because as I'm saying, bro, all these therapists right now, bro, they need a whole bunch of therapy themselves, bro. You know what I'm saying? And as somebody who's been in therapy, like, man, dog, I seen this clear as day, brother.
Baby boomers and 15% of older adults.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know it's a problem when the therapist blames the fact that, bro, you just been unemployed. It's like, okay, cool. If that's the solution, the fact that I've just been unemployed, I've just been, bro, you're not ugly, you're just broke, you know, type scenario. But then, like, if it's cool. You don't think I've realized that? I'm thinking it's something deeper. That's why I came to see you. But now you taking me back to the thing that I already knew. You know what I'm saying? My problem was not the fact that my mind or my psychology it has revealed the truth to me. The fact that is I ain't even believe that that's the truth for me. I'm scared of like facing that kind of reality, or you know what I'm saying. So it's like the work of the therapist is not as deep as we make it out to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you find a generation like Gen Z having made therapy such a thing, but they still so twisted. They still more twisted than ever.
Harrison, this study shows that younger adults belonging to Gen Z were a more psychologically vulnerable population compared to older adults belonging to the baby boomer cohort, who demonstrated more resiliency in mental health outcomes.
Okay.
Now, I need to clarify that this isn't to discount all the benefits of mental health awareness that Gen Z has normalized. Okay. And there's also so many external reasons for the mental health decline as we live in, at least I think, is a unique time time with unique challenges. But at least one of the reasons Gen Z is behind other generations in terms of mental health is because for a lot of them, they seem to be too stuck in the past to make any moves forward. Because the thing with therapy, warning, I'm about to hate on therapy a little bit, but give me a chance.
I just did. You know what I'm saying? Go in,
the thing
go
with
crazy.
Therapy is that it's not in fact universally good and can in certain circumstances do more harm than good. Besides the classic problem of picking the wrong therapist or using the wrong techniques in sessions, we're also seeing how being over-therapized can backfire and sometimes make problems worse. Because there is a fine line between processing an experience to make it manageable and reliving it and re-traumatizing yourself.
Did you know that talk therapy can actually be re-traumatizing for trauma, and that you cannot in fact heal your trauma by talking about it? That's because trauma is not stored consciously. It's deep back in subcortical, subconscious part of the brain, and it is stored as physical sensations in the body.
As said here, there's a type of talking about a traumatic event, usually a breakup or a situation where the subject feels they've been wronged and are certain they were in the right, that sounds obsessional to the listener. When someone is obsessive about talking about their injury, it sounds like they are feeding rather diminishing it. When we get fed up with our friends doing this, we may say that they are milking it. This is the psychological equivalent of scratching a mosquito bite. If you don't stop scratching it, it is going to continue to itch and may become infected. And this part of today's video is brought to you by a corrupt
and accept it for what it is, learn from it, and use that inner present power to create a future that we want.
It's important to put trauma in the past, otherwise a life can be lived as though it is still happening when it is in fact over. If you process the experience in a way that puts distance between then and now, you can lead a fuller life in the present and be freer of your past. And that's the problem with Gen Z that I've also been sucked into, is the idea of therapy for life, because it shouldn't be normal to be in therapy for life, and you should be having these conversations with your therapist about an end date, because that's the whole point, is getting coping skills and applying them and then moving on. Easier said than done, obviously. But this idea that every person has trauma is most likely exaggerated and can even mess with our resilience. Reminiscing with a friend, cracking a joke with your spouse you wouldn't dare make with anyone else, helping your cousin box up her apartment without talking about your problems, often aids recovery far more than sitting around in a room full of sad people. Therapy can hijack our normal processes of resilience, interrupting our psyche's ability to heal itself.
It's like that parent that wants to take control of things instead of letting the kid just like learn through experience, learn through, you know what I'm saying, being scared in that dark. You know what I'm saying? Being scared in that dark, stepping on a landmine that should blast in your leg off, and then them believing that, yo, there really are demons in the dark that'll chop your leg off type shit. Nah, bro, you just stepped on the landmine, but that's because you're not supposed to be out in the dark, like type shit, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, like, I feel like that's all it is, bro. Just let them learn, nigga. Not everybody need therapy, or not everybody needs therapy always. You know what I'm saying? Let that be a phase. Let that be a phase where you can see the limitation of therapy and be like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to go at this shit myself. Facts. And create my own truths, my own realities, my own laws. You feel me?
Its own way.
That just... Okay, let me let her continue. My bad.
At its own time. Think of it this way. Group therapy for those who experienced loss or disaster forces the coping to hang out with the sad. This may make the relatively resilient sadder and prompt the sad to stew. The most dejected steer the ship to planet misery, with everyone else trapped inside.
With misery loving company type shit.
And I run into this a lot with people who've been in therapy a long time. Here's my thought. If you've been in therapy for 10 years and it's not getting any better, find another therapist or try something else. Problem with therapy is that it tends to be very cognitive based. What I mean by that is that people can spend a lot of time analyzing themselves, examining their thought process, getting a lot of insight, which is good. But sometimes at the end of the day, all you get is more insight. Do you actually feel any better?
And so it's being said that
overly stimulated by too much information.
Ruminating on the past is one of the ways preventing young adults from taking the next step in life, because either they feel held back from what happened to them because it feels so much in real time because they keep focusing on it, or they just can't think past it because it takes up so much mental space. It's the difference between adopting a...
Oh, that's an interesting one. You cannot think past it because it's taking so much fucking mental space, bro. Get that shit on.
An action mindset versus a state mindset. The action mindset means you're focusing on the task at hand and making moves to progress to your goals. Whereas the state mindset is where you can't get out of your head and your emotions enough to get the ball rolling in life. And I don't want to put a label on everyone who goes to therapy, because obviously that's not the case. But we do see a lot of young people holding on to what's happened to them as their identity and not being able to see past it. When we use our trauma as a shield from the world's expectations, we end up stuck. Our minds stay in survival mode, and growing into the next chapter becomes increasingly impossible. Because resilience isn't something that experts can help you build in a 1-hour session. Growth comes from moving through life, facing challenges, and surmounting them. And that's how humans have always done it.
Yeah, and I feel like, yo, check it out though. This whole thing is actions and like what you have to do to satisfy your own self. That's a whole nother video though, I'm not even gonna lie to you. But yeah, let's finish this off.
Rise above the obstacles and focus on the future. Ask any millennial who had a keep calm and carry on poster in their locker in 2010.
Keep calm meme, I remember that shit.
But perhaps the biggest factor preventing Gen Z from making progress towards their future is the overwhelming sense of decision paralysis.
Yeah,
we know that 1 in 4 people
there
around the world struggle with feelings of decision paralysis, with 53% feeling ill-equipped to manage decisions, and 29% feeling that even the smallest doubt can stop them from taking action.
Ever since like 2021-22, I swear something in my like chemistry has changed, which maybe it's because of given events that we all went through the year prior. But like I used to be so motivated, driven, and would get things done so quick, and now I'm noticing like a pattern in myself in multiple different scenarios. Like with decision making, I'm having the worst decision paralysis and not being able to like trust myself on my decisions, and just thinking that there's too many good options, so I can't just like choose one and miss out on the other.
For one, we live in a day and age where we have the most access to information than any generation before,
what I just said, yes.
And with that comes every possible life path you could take. We can see behind the curtain of the rich and famous, the living abroad, the simple family homestead, the touring musician, and any and every job in between. We've come a long way from the days of job fairs in high school where your options only looked like either IT guy, electrician, nurse, or policeman. Nowadays, we've never had so many options for life paths, and so we often don't pick any out of fear of picking the wrong one.
Nah, but I feel like the one good thing that I've seen out of that though is that people have now decentralized their idea of the right career. You know what I'm saying? People can have like things like side gigs. You know what I'm saying? Side jobs where they can work part-time in multiple different fields and aspects, and just like consolidate all of that, the income that they can get from all of that as one thing, and just operate as this independent thing that can grow into something that can be self-sustaining, you know what I'm saying, at least financially. You feel what I'm saying? In terms of like career, like, you know what I'm saying, you can have all these things and then live off of them, and then at the same time on top of that have like your legacy pack, your legacy project, where it's like, okay, it's not about the income, it's not about the money for us to survive, but it's, you know what I'm saying? So it's a decentralization of just being the IT guy your whole life, or just being the doctor your whole life. Yo, even the doctors, you can be a doctor that does its own content creation. It can all be around doctor medical shit, but you know what I'm saying, this doctor is sharing information as content, this, that, and the third, obviously within the bounds of how they can practice that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? But a whole lot of these things can happen. You feel what I'm saying? And then boom, you see that doctor content journey just takes off more than this traditional medical thing, and here they go, leaving this, going on to that. You know what I'm saying? And then that creates an opening for other opportunities. That I feel like that's like the good way in these things happening. You feel what I'm saying? And yeah, that also is dependent on how smart you are with the tools that you have at your disposal right now. I think I said that at the beginning. It's the
same way that Trader Joe's has found success by offering only one ketchup option. People are far more likely to buy ketchup because they aren't overwhelmed by their choices.
I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I'm the kind of person that tries to see everything from a different lens. I think to have a fully informed and educated opinion, you need to have different perspectives. But lately I've been having a lot of trouble in my personal life because I cannot make a decision for the life of me. And the reason for this is because I try to consider many, many, many different perspectives, and whenever I think about an answer, I'm like, well, actually, this could apply too, though.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm the same way, bro. Shit,
but
that's
it sucks
crazy.
because I really don't want to make the wrong decision about things, and it's hard to take that leap without considering all different aspects and
the fear of making the wrong decision.
Perspectives to things. Honestly, sometimes I think I'm introspective to a fault. Because sometimes I'm worried that I'm going to make the wrong decision simply because I did not think about all of the possibilities with it. Yeah. But in turn, that starts inhibiting me because now I'm stuck in this position.
But that obviously, you know, has given birth to the FOMO idea, the FOMO concept, you know what I'm saying? Not wanting to lose out on other possibilities, you know what I'm saying? Or other types of outcome that can come out of this here, you know what I'm saying? Circumstance type shit. So now you wanna make sure that you know about all avenues to get into before you can make a decision. You know what I'm saying? That does actually kind of sound retarded. And I'm not gonna lie, as I said, bro, like I'm a victim of that kind of mindset too. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Of being indecisive.
That's crazy. We gotta work on that shit.
It seemed like a surface problem for many Gen Zs who are often regarded as the headstrong generation to be indecisive. But there's more than meets the eye when it comes to the struggle of making decisions and the consequences of being unable to decide on something that could have an impact on your personal or professional life. A new study by HSBC found Gen Z is struggling with decision making and confidence more than any other generation. A third of Gen Zs spoken to feel paralyzed by uncertainty when it's time to act, and 62% feel ill-equipped to manage the decisions they have to make in their personal and professional lives.
Just had a bit of a mental breakdown. I don't know why. I felt like I wanted to share how I've been feeling. I'm really struggling with like not knowing what I'm doing and like not having everything figured out. I feel like a bit of a failure because I've had these like grand.
And this one right here, bro, I can actually relate to it like on, you know, with this YouTube shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro, like I'm literally at like ground levels. I have a whole lot of this kind of you know, mental place to be at. You know what I'm saying? You see your shit pull up, still no views. 2 weeks later, nigga, 0 views. You're like, bro, what's up, nigga? Why? You feel me? But then at the same time, it's like, what the fuck is else there to do, bro? It's either this or, you know what I'm saying, go, you know what I'm saying? It's like other things, other evils are better than others. Let's just put it that way. It's like pick your poison and let it kill you. Like, would you rather go out there and, you know, go join the outside type of group think where we plot on a whole bunch of either positive or negative opportunities to just like be rich as fuck and then da da da, or like, you know what I'm saying? Do you stay within your own space where you feel the most comfortable and then try out other opportunities to just make money and survive and blah blah blah? You know what I'm saying? Like, which evil are you finna be on at this point? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, fuck it. For as long as I have anything to try, I'll just keep at this. You know what I'm saying? Even if I see no views on that thing, no da 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 on this thing, you know what I'm saying? No motion, no movement. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather just like keep at it though. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not even a comfortable realization to get to, but it's like the only one that makes sense for you. I hope that makes sense. And that's how I find myself just like carrying on though. You know what I'm saying? Even though this shit looks directionless. Facts.
My life, and it's just not turned out that way. I'm only 24 and I know I've still got like time for it to fall into place, but it's just so hard to not constantly be comparing yourself to other people.
This also plays into another problem Gen Z has with decisions, which is potential anxiety. It's the fear of not living up to your full potential, and it's fueled by everything from economic uncertainty and social pressures to perhaps most of all the constant comparison on social media.
Yeah, that one is crazy.
To be 26 years old. I wake up in the morning every single day and I'm like, you have 24 hours, you have to make the most of this time. Time is only going forward, you're only getting older. The only thing standing between you and your goals is going out to get them. You need to put your mind on right, you need to stay motivated, you need to stay alert, you have to go out and get everything.
Bro, just looking at this video just burning me out, dog. Just looking at this clip just burns me out, because that's another thing I feel like it is, bro. It's burnout of all this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's burnout, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That you've ever hoped and dreamed for, because this is your one life, this is your one chance. Like, you cannot take a second for granted. And then I take a deep breath at some point during the day and I'm like, wait a second, this is a floating rock, nothing is real, it's probably a simulation, we're all gonna die anyway. Isn't the only point to love and be loved in return? Like, why am I so concerned with all this other stuff? And then I'm so overwhelmed by my thoughts that I open up the Instagram app and it seems like everybody else is running the rat race, but they're also looking super hot and having a lot of fun while doing it. Everybody's getting skinnier. What is going on? And then I take one simple scroll through my Instagram feed or whatever the fuck, and it's the worst news you've ever read in your entire life. And you're like, okay, so you close the Instagram app and then you sit and wonder for a while, am I the only 26-year-old going on 27, turning 27 in a month? Oh my God, am I the only 26, 27-year-old in the entire world who has no idea what's going on and is just in this existential cycle of dread every single day? And then I think to myself, well, when my mother was 27, she had a 1-year-old, and that 1-year-old was me.
Yo, I have those thoughts too, bro. Yo, put in the comments if you have those thoughts too, where you're like, yo, damn, I'm at a point where, yo, I was my youngest parent's 2-year-old at this age. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even got not one kid. Yo, I was my oldest parents' 4-year-old. And I was that nigga's second kid. Like, what? I am the nigga's exact age where he was and had 2 kids. I don't even got one. You know what I'm saying? Nigga had a stable job by the age that I had. Like, what the fuck? I'm out here, man, looking at these no video ass videos. No view having ass videos that I be uploading, hoping to, you know what I'm saying? Hoping to, you know, live off of one. Like, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
So many options, which is a massive privilege. Technically, we all have free will. You can do whatever you want. Quit your job. Do this. Call this person. Go on this app. Go here. Move here.
What else?
Do that.
Okay.
Change career paths.
Right.
But it's like, when you have decision fatigue, it's kind of tough.
Yeah. And then you just sit there in that one spot. Yeah. Crazy.
So I'm gonna try this probiotic yogurt.
Yeah, then you just sit there in that one spot and try a probiotic peanut butter jar, I think.
Because someone on the internet told me that I should.
Damn.
Great. And it's disgusting. Great.
Gen Z feels so much pressure to pick a meaningful path.
That 5 head though, she
and not squander their opportunities
good,
because they see everyone online living perfectly fulfilling lives. But this really leaves them feeling uncertain of their own future, and so they'd rather choose nothing at all than face the disappointment of choosing incorrectly. And with that, any commitment feels less like a win and more like a loss of freedom, as you've written off any other option out there. But to find any sort of success, you do have to make sacrifices.
Alright, what's the final thought?
So I do want to mention that I did skip over a lot of the reasons why Gen Z is supposedly not growing up, and that's for a reason. Things like the increased cost of living play a huge role, but I've talked about that so much, I didn't want to like get all into it again, but we can't expect the same life that our parents had because it's a different time. The world is different, so we're different. Also, of course, this is not speaking for everyone in Gen Z. It's a trend, and trends don't account for everyone. We still have very ambitious and successful Gen Zers. Also, when young adults take longer to achieve the markers of adulthood, it's not necessarily their fault, but is a result of the world that they grew up in. And I think you can see that from everything we discussed today. But overall, I do think that we as a generation, I like to flip-flop between millennials or Gen Z, depending how I'm feeling.
Yeah,
but
me too,
as a
bro.
Gen Zer today, we need to stop waiting for things to be perfect to make a move. Otherwise, you never will. We grew up with this idea that you can chase your dreams and achieve anything, but that doesn't mean that there aren't sacrifices along the way. And the more you chase a perfect life, the more disappointing.
And the kind of sacrifices you'd have to make are different from your previous generations. You know what I'm saying?
You'll be. But that's all I have for you today. Make sure you check out Scentbird and use code EMBERS for 55%.
Scentbird Embers. Okay, cool.
Following your intuition. The only thing I have planned in my life right now is just like a feeling. Like I just have a feeling. So you just follow that feeling.
Let's go into the feeling,
and it might get you into some debt.